We're talking about kickers. Hope you're happy. Today on SB Fantasy Football.
I am happy. I got some defense.
Yeah. But really kickers. And we're live. Welcome to SB Fantasy Football Podcast where, gosh darn it, gee golly willikers, we try hard.
Yeah.
I'm Alan.
I'm RD. What's up?
Oh, just living the dream, brother. How about you?
Oh, this is like, we didn't want to do any more rankings. We're done. But I definitely want to talk about defensive kickers. And it was mainly because, some of these guys, they can win you a championship.
Can they?
They've done it before. Remember that year that the Patriots went bonkers and were scoring 25 points a game?
Yeah.
I mean, that was crazy. I remember because I picked them up. So I remember it was like some random league we were in. And it might have been like, we were like part of like a couple different networks or whatever. It was, I think it was with them. Yeah. And so this dude dropped him. I was like, okay. I was like, I'll pick him up. And he's like, which one of you, blah, blah, blah. Picked up the Patriots defense. I only benched them because I had to go pick up. And I go, yeah, if they're like the number one defense and they're scoring you 25 points a game.
You don't cut them.
You don't cut them. You cut some other a-hole on your team.
You cut the third tight end you have on your roster for some reason.
I mean, dude, I was like, you can't be serious right now. And I was like, yeah, and you know who took him. My name's right next to him.
Hi, it's me.
Yeah, it's me. Now I'm getting those points. But that's the thing. It's like, over the years, there's always been there's usually like one dominant defense.
Right.
And there are defenses that people stretch for in the draft. Like they go as high as the 13th, 14th round sometimes. Kickers, I've seen in the 12th round.
Yeah,
that's Justin Tucker in his prime, But nowadays it's a little bit different. Now I know where you stand on it, but the people at home don't know where you stand on it. And so with your defense and kickers,
those are my last two picks.
Those are your last two picks every single year, no matter what.
Yep.
So you kind of just get whatever's left over, and you could be the guy that gets, at that point you're streaming. You know what I mean? You got a team.
Well, you kicker wise, I'm usually good, and I got a kicker that I have, and then I'll play with until he's on a bye week, and then I'll cut him, and then pick up someone else.
Well, just like anything else, he's on the block no matter what. Like if if all of a sudden he's getting you 2 or 3 points a game, for 3 weeks, you're like, I can't deal with this. I need somebody that's on a team that's kicking field goals, and it's usually, to be honest with you, it's a team that they really can't convert in the red zone. But they kick a lot of field goals. It's kind of who you're looking for, because I don't want a bunch of extra points, 3 extra points a game. I want, hey, you're kicking 30, 40, 50-yard field goals. That's when, Justin Tucker he's just been cleaning up for years until this past season.
Where he only had one field goal of over 50 yards last year.
It's crazy. He used to knock them down. But then that was the thing. Their defense or their offense progressed, and they were a lot better. So they were scoring a lot more points. So then he was just kicking extra points. All right, so last year, your number one kicker, the answer to this?
Brandon Aubrey.
Brandon Aubrey out of Dallas.
Which is a guy that you picked up as a free agent.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't even drafted. It's crazy.
And in a lot of cases, you're going to see guys like that towards the top, guys that aren't really going to get drafted, because you're looking at your top kickers. Go ahead and keep talking, and give me the rest of the kickers that are there towards the top, and I'll tell you whether they were drafted or not.
Yeah, most of them were, though. The rest of them were drafted. Aubrey was just one of those, because I think he was he a rookie?
Or was he? Are you drafting the Bears? Were you drafting the Bears kicker last year? He was number 3.
Are we looking at the right stuff? 2023 regular season? No, Santos is number 2 on this one.
Okay.
Scored 100. Well, you know what? He's tied with Matt Gay. Do you show him his 150 points? So Brandon Aubrey,
this is a different league that I'm looking at the stuff. So
I'm on fantasydata.com.
Okay. And
so Brandon Aubrey scored 177 points. And just to give you a little comparison to what that would be equate to, and this we're going to do PPR, right? 177 points. You're looking at Javonte Williams, Ezekiel Elliott from last year, and running back. So he's number 29 and 30th ranked running back, right? So kind of flex action, in that area, right?
I'm not ranking him.
But wide receivers, though, you're talking 35. Romeo Dobbs, Drake London, Brandon Cooks, Tank Dell missed a lot. Cortland Sutton type area. I take that back. Not Cortland Sutton, but Romeo Dobbs, Drake London, Brandon Cooks, Tank Dell, Cooper Kupp, Gabe Davis. He outscored them all. And it's like, all right, man. I mean, it's like
Cooper Kupp played in like 4 games.
It's a position that's kind of overlooked. And like you said, you're just kind of picking the last guy up. I mean, the difference, you're going to have the top 10 kickers in. The difference between the first from last year's 177 all the way down to 140. That was Jason Sanders. You know what I mean? So there is some difference there. The averages, he had 10.4 points a game. You got guys that go all the way down to like say 7 and some change, and like Tyler Bass, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be a good year for Tyler Bass. Well, guess what? No, it wasn't. It sucked. It sucked ass to a straw. Same thing with Greg the Leg. I mean, I remember him tearing it up.
Yeah,
2 or 3 seasons ago. Was that 3 or 4 maybe? But yeah, I mean, it's these positions, they can do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, and it's just I just don't see, because again, like you said, you're talking like 30th, right? Somewhere 30 to 40 in that running back wide receiver range. I just see more upside. Like I don't want to spend, because to get those guys, I'm gonna have to draft them a little bit higher, right? And I just don't see it, right? And the guys that I'm getting are kind of all there in the middle. Again, I'm with especially like with my defenses. I'm streaming my defense on week to week, just about. Right. Unless I get, like this was several years ago when the Bears defense was really good. Someone had dropped them and I picked them up and I just rolled with the Bears defense. Right. Yeah. I've had years where I've been able to pick up a pretty good defense. A couple of years ago, I picked up the 49ers defense. I didn't draft them, but they were, again, it was a situation where someone dropped them and I picked them up and rolled with them, from that point on. But
like last year, with defenses in mind, the Ravens and the Cowboys, they were 1 and 2, 174 points, 172 points. They were dominant. The next drops off quite a bit. They averaged over 10 points or 10.2, 10.1 points per game. You're next up with the Bills and the Jets and Dolphins. They were in the 50s. Then it drops there's kind of a big difference when you say if you got the 10th and the first. There's some points to be had there that could be the difference in your week. If you're, we do higher scoring, we do PPR and things like that. So you'll see 180 to 200 points. If there's someone's had a hell of a week, it's 200 some change. But they can get kind of close where 5 points, your defense gives you negative points or lays an egg, or their defense blows up. That could be the difference.
Yeah, but I mean, you're looking at
and if I'm playing Boner, that's exactly what happens.
Like the Dolphins were ranked what, top 5 last year?
Yeah, everybody was all
no
over.
one. No one drafted the Dolphins defense last year.
No one drafted them.
No, the Dolphins defense?
Dolphins defense?
Yeah, it's all about the Dolphins offense.
Oh, okay.
Going into the season.
Yeah.
Going into the season, right? But that's a defense that you could have picked up, Hell, in our gangster league, they were a free agent at the end of the season.
At the end of the season?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have one or two bad weeks. Yeah, they get and they were playing when it got cold outside. All of a sudden, they can't play no football.
Exactly.
They can't stop nobody, and hell breaks loose. But with some of these, I'll generally, I've done it with Justin Tucker many years. I'm like, you know what, I want Justin Tucker. I just want him. And that was back when he was kicking, 2 to 3 50-yarders a game, and so you're sitting back getting 15 to 20 points. I like that extra little cheddar,
right?
And whatnot. So yeah, I will go and I'll draft one. I don't know how high I go. I have to gauge it because who am I drafting with?
Right.
And it's
always who you're drafting with.
There's a guy in our league. Me and him go after Justin Tucker every year, and then it's kind of start eyeballing him when he starts kind of ruffling his sheets a little bit. It starts going down the list, and I'm like, oh, buddy, it's almost tuck time here, And that one kicker can break the seal. Just like with anything else, right? Where it's like, who's going to break the seal with like quarterbacks or say tier 2 quarterbacks? All of a sudden, there's a frenzy. I got to get my quarterback. And the same thing with not like as crazy with kickers, but yeah, you have guys that they get a kicker. Well, guess what? I'm going to go ahead and grab my other kicker. I've already got a pretty decent team. I have my starting lineup, and I've said it before too with like studs. When I drafted, I think it was in my cousin's league, and it was like, you know what? I'm getting a stud at every position. And that's what I did. I was like, I got Mahomes and I got, I can't remember who my running backs and receiver was, but I had each guy stud. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Let me go ahead and get, Tucker. It's early, but I'm going to go get him. And so I did. I don't have any regrets about that. You know what I mean? But it does, like how high you're willing to go, you have to start thinking about like, okay, what's the difference and who can I get right now?
Right.
As my wide receiver 2 or 3 or my running back 2, my RB2, things like that. So I'll go harder after a kicker than I will a defense though. Defense, I generally like, man.
Okay. Because again, I look at that on a week by week basis though, right? Like I'm looking.
I'm talking draft though.
Yeah, but because I look at my defense on a week-to-week basis, that's why I
you just take whenever you're up.
I look like right now. I'm looking at week 1 of the NFL schedule.
Yeah,
and that's going to dictate.
How's it going?
Like I'm probably looking at maybe like trying to get the Bills or playing the Cardinals week 1. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be that great. I would typically go with like maybe who the Titans are playing because I'm not expecting big things out of the Titans this year.
Yeah,
but that's the Bears, and I don't think the Bears are doing much this year. Right.
You also have to realize that if it's like you said, the Bills were playing who on the first
Cardinals.
Cardinals
in Buffalo.
Bills will not be around in the last round of the thing. Someone's going to take them before they get there. It has to be
maybe.
Team. But like with our streaming, like I know what you're saying because we've talked about before, like who's playing. Remember back when it was like whoever's playing the Browns, that's who you wanted week 1. It could be a terrible defense.
Like last year, you looked at a lot of who were the Panthers playing.
Yeah.
Like this year, they're playing the Saints week 1 in New Orleans.
Yep. And it's like one of those things where like, okay, well, then
might be drafting the Saints.
Yeah.
Right? Or do I take the Vikings who are playing the Giants?
It really depends on who they're playing. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you already know you're going to be streaming your defense, just start looking at matchups. But then you have to realize, one, just like what I said with the Bills, right? The Bills, they're going to be most likely drafted, in the last round, maybe they'll make it. But when they start pulling up like 49ers and the Dallas D is supposed to be pretty good, I guess good again this year. They have a super weak schedule, so it makes it easier. And that's the shit you got to think of, right? So kickers, I don't think it matters. Like you want the kicker on the team that's going to get to the red zone, kick a ton of field goals because the team can't convert. Dallas Cowboys.
I usually draft the Lions kicker.
Yeah.
He
didn't do too good last year, did he?
Yeah, they didn't kick the ball a lot last year.
Yeah.
They didn't have a lot of faith in Bagley.
Yeah. Didn't he get canned? Did he get let go or he got hurt? Someone got hurt.
He just hurt. Yeah, he's done for the season. But they signed Jake Bates out of the USFL, and that dude was dropping 50, 60-yard field goals on a weekly basis.
I want to see more field goals. I love the deep field goals, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Then they started thinking, well, if we don't have a guy that can get it that far, then we're just turning it over. Terrible. We're giving it away. Beautiful field position to the other team. But yeah, I mean, there's guys out there that go after kickers. There's guys that go out there after defenses and things like that. And as I mentioned, I'm willing to reach, I think, on kickers depending on who they are. And if they got I don't know about I'm not gonna go crazy over Aubrey again, even though he's got a real legit chance. The team hasn't changed much. The strategy hasn't changed. Now, that could be a safe bet, but I'm not willing to go in the 14th round or 13th round for him or something like that. I'm like, eh. But there's some years where all of a sudden I'm on the kicker craze. There's some years I'm like, nah, streaming this year, baby. Because by the time it comes to me, and if there's a guy that I want, and I was like, I want this late round dude, that's who I want.
You're always sitting there a couple rounds before everyone else takes a kicker, and you're sitting there, and I'm sitting there talking to you. I'm like, who are you looking at? You go, you know who I'm looking at. And you got the kicker's sheet in your hand. And I'm like, you're not drafting a kicker right now. You're like, I might. I'm like, go for it.
Yeah.
Because there's a guy that I want that I know you're interested in, so you go ahead and draft a kicker.
Exactly.
That's why I'm over there. I was like, you should fucking do it, man. You should do it.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have as far as the kickings go, and defenses and whatnot. Yeah, they can win you a championship if you hit gold. If you make the right pick, and that just a defense that just happens to just start off.
But I think it has to do with, again, I think it's
all a luck.
One that you have to get either a free agent type thing or a last round pick type thing, where you're not missing out on some of these other position players that they might not start at the beginning of the season, but after somebody gets hurt or after they catch on to the offense or on a new team or something like that, then their numbers start to go up. So it's just all. Again, I think it's more along the lines of the guys that you get, they're going to fall between the cracks. You're not going to win your league because you're drafting Justin Tucker because you drafted him probably too high.
If you, I mean, it depends on how you got him or where he fell at. Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, you could win, but it just depends. Mm-hmm. Something to analyze.
I mean, because if you look at last year, for example, Money McPherson wasn't that great last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's also because you have no Joe Burrow for majority of the year, and your offense is crap. So
yeah, he was at 14th last year.
Yeah,
so you had him, and then you're like, okay, here we go, and then Burrow gets hurt, and you're like, okay, well now I'm kind of holding on to him because it's like, okay, if they can get close enough, then he's the guy because they're not going to get in the end zone, but they just didn't get close enough.
Yeah.
He played 17 games, man, 132 points. So 45 point difference between him and Aubrey. 45 points.
Yeah.
So 1st to 15th or 6th, 14th, excuse me.
So
There you go.
again, depends on what you do. But what do you guys think? What's your strategy with kickers and defenses? Are you drafting high? Or are you just streaming week to week? You get who you get, and you don't really care. Let us know. As always, I'm Alan.
I'm Artie.
Talk to you later. Deuces.